Welcome. Welcome, ladies, lords, gentlemen and rabbanim. Thank you for joining us for what would normally be World Jewish Relief's annual dinner at Guildhall. But this year is Make a World of Difference 2021. In 2019, I spoke about how at that time the world was full of uncertainty and how I appreciated the comforting regularity of the annual dinner at Guildhall. Well, the world now is more uncertain than ever. It's impossible to plan even days or weeks ahead. I'm thankful to be here for an albeit slightly different event tonight. This has been such a difficult year. We've lost loved ones from the Jewish community, including valued supports of World Jewish Relief, many of whose families join us tonight. And it's remarkable that even at this challenging time, you have chosen to look beyond your own, to the global community that World Jewish Relief supports. Tonight's theme is Saving Lives, Transforming Communities. Over the past 11 months, for the people World Jewish Relief supports, their very survival has been at risk. Without you, many may not have survived. Saving lives has been at the centre of our work. And this year, we have all experienced loneliness. We know how hard isolation is for ourselves and for our loved ones. Whether you've been single, it's been hard. If you've been widowed or grieving, it's been hard. Even if you've just been at home with small children, it's been hard. For older Jews in Eastern Europe with no support networks, this loneliness is even more extreme. World Jewish Relief is their safety net. Your support means that communities have been able to adapt programmes and services to this new reality, so no one is left behind or forgotten. Tonight, we'll be taking you on a journey to meet members of the global World Jewish Relief family and show you firsthand the difference that your support makes, saving lives and transforming communities. This evening, you'll hear from World Jewish Relief's patron, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, our outgoing chair and Boris Johnson's new Chief of Staff, Dan Rosenfield, and the singer, songwriter and philanthropist Chris Martin, as well as people whose lives have been transformed by our work. You can donate at any time by clicking the donate or pledge buttons on your screen or by returning the pledge card that you've received in the post. I hope you'll stay with us for the duration of this exciting event. Thank you again for joining us. And I'll now hand over to the familiar face of World Jewish Relief, the Chief Executive, Paul Anticoni, who will update us on how the charity has risen to the challenge over the past year.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being with us. I am, of course, really sad that we're not physically sitting together, even though the annual dinner normally terrifies me with anxiety and anticipation. There is no doubting the value we attach to eating, laughing and learning together at the Guildhall, looking around the room and celebrating the breadth of World Jewish Relief's family. And we've lost some really good members of that World Jewish Relief family this year, some of whom would be sitting next to me at tonight's event, and we really miss them. Traditionally, by this stage of the evening, I would have been inundated with complaints about the seating plan. Might be a little bit tricky this year, as I'm not sure I can change who you are currently sitting next to. But by all means, let me know and I'll see what I can do. Perhaps the silver lining this year is that we've saved significant monies on the catering, on the venue, and on our film production, enabling us to allocate even more funding to those that really need our help. And I don't need to tell you how calamitous a year it has been for them. From the start of this pandemic, we always knew that older people, those living in poverty, those displaced by conflict or victims of disaster would be most at risk. And I'm sure it's no surprise to you that in the countries where World Jewish Relief works, the quality and accessibility of both healthcare and economic support is fragile at best. Our strategy to this crisis has been relatively simple. We would ensure first all our local partner organisations on the front line rapidly had the PPE to deliver services safely to all our participants. And we would do what we could to both mitigate our clients' risk to the disease and continue or expand all essential supplies to them. Of course, uncertain of income security, we would also be prepared to dip into our reserves, which are, of course, far less important than saving life. With our Jewish community centres closed across Eastern Europe, the plight of elderly Jews, particularly those of the survivor generation, have been of immense concern. There's no NHS to clap for in Ukraine. We, World Jewish Relief, are the safety net. The triple whammy of poverty, COVID, and now winter is unimaginable. Minus 15 degrees today in Kharkiv. And because our Jewish clients were not able to come to our centres or venture out to use our food card schemes in the supermarket, so we have had to bring all the services to them. Food parcels and hot meals, medical supplies and medicine, home care and companionship. We've even started helping some of them with the provision of a computer or a tablet, an idea that we would have considered an absolute luxury a year ago. I'm convinced that many of you would now agree that for lonely elderly individuals, access to the internet is perhaps a necessity. Having helped almost 13,000 people from our community with employment support over the last decade, it's been catastrophic to see so many of them lose their jobs and their source of income. We've had to step in to ensure none of them go hungry, simultaneously offering them psychological support and expertise to once again find work and be able to look after themselves. And with no vaccine on the horizon for these people, not even a queue to join, I cannot impress upon you enough the necessity of our continued support. And we are so proud to extend our support to those beyond the Jewish community. Our Jewish welcome to resettled refugees in the UK particularly continues to deliver great impact. Amazingly, we are now the single largest provider of employment support to resettled refugees in the UK. Wow! World Jewish Relief remains committed to leading British Jewry's response to challenge and disaster for those on the extreme margins in Rwanda, Mozambique, Haiti and elsewhere to survive and rebuild their lives. Our COVID emergency response work worldwide has seen us providing food, hand washing stations, clean water, soap, and clear and simple health information, demonstrably reducing the risk of catching this virus. And in all of those contexts, focusing particularly on the needs of women, who always seem to suffer the most, are the hardest to reach, but best placed to change a family's circumstance with the right help. As the late Rabbi Sachs reminded me early in my tenure with World Jewish Relief, everything we do is Jewish. Last year saw us deliver services to an incredible 73,000 people. Wow, that really makes me proud. And in the midst of despair this year, when things just seem to be conspiring against us and the cries of help from all of those that needed our services were louder than ever, you know what gave me support and encouragement? You, our supporters, your compassion for our cause, your spontaneous response to our appeals for help, your desire to help me and my brilliant team do as much as we can for those that need our help. Hey, that really is the power of kindness. Thank you. Let me say another heartfelt thank you to Linda Rosenblatt, my wonderful vice president, who has orchestrated tonight's event with her usual panache and modesty, to my hardworking and determined trustees and my brilliant staff, and to my incredible chair of trustees, Dan Rosenfield, whose leadership, wisdom, and friendship has taken this organisation to new heights, and whose broad shoulders the Prime Minister is now leaning on. But it is important that I also thank another critical part of the World Jewish Relief family. You can't deliver a food parcel, wash someone who is bedbound, or repair their dilapidated home by Zoom. So hats off to the staff and volunteers of 66 local partner organisations in 18 countries of the world who, with your support, have braved the virus and arguably risked their lives to save others and delivered help to those 73,000 people. They and you are the real heroes. Thank you and enjoy this evening.
Thank you, Paul, for updating us on your vital work and our vital work. Paul recently met with one individual whose life has been turned around by World Jewish Relief this year. Lydia Alexandrovna Bogatareva lives just outside Kherson in Ukraine. She's 76 years old and had a long career as a teacher. Now retired, she lives off a meagre state pension of £83 per month, which is not even enough to cover her heating and groceries, let alone her medical bills, which are vital, as she suffers from a number of severe chronic illnesses and her husband is disabled and uses a wheelchair. With no other family to look after them, World Jewish Relief has been a lifeline this year, funding emergency home care as well as meeting their urgent medical needs. Take a look at their conversation.
So your husband is in a wheelchair and his sight is not good. So that must put a lot of pressure on you to look after him.
No, at first it was possible for me to look after him, but 6 months ago I fell seriously ill and I was staying in bed, and so then I had to ask for help of our Kherson HIGHNESS, and after very quickly, in 3 days, a nurse started visiting our house because she started helping in everything we need, for example, shopping and cleaning and cooking, and even if necessary to go out with my husband in a wheel.
What support from the Chesed have you and your husband had over the last 6 months?
We had now every month they pay bill for our medicine, but medicine are very expensive. No, maybe in every country, and we have a nurse who visiting us regularly.
Lydia, during the pandemic, of course, you can't go out. Your husband is in a wheelchair. How have you felt? How has the last 8 or 9 months made you feel?
During this pandemic, we have to stay at home all day. It is not natural for us. And the HIGHNESS then, as I know, due to World Jewish Relief Program, they organize every day. They organize special program on Zoom, and they taught us how to use this Zoom. And on Zoom online, and every day there are special programs.
Tell me, what would you do without those classes? I mean, it must feel very lonely and isolating to be at home all the time. How does that make you feel?
No, I know that every day at 11, we are sitting with my husband near the computer, and we know that since 11 o'clock, we will have contact, we will take part in different programs, and people are very positive, and how tell you, that after this meeting, after this discussion, we have believe in our future.
Lydia, tell me a little bit about the real value of Chesed Shmuel, World Jewish Relief's local partner.
This situation, for me, for my husband, it would be very difficult, maybe impossible to survive. Because, now imagine, we have a wheelchair, we have a special toilet, and we have medicine, because of this program, every month I am sure that we will have all necessary medicine. At any moment, we know that we can call and we can speak. No conversation, it is very important for us, very important for us.
Lydia, thanks ever so much for joining us this evening. We really valued your participation. And let me hand back to Emily Maitlis.
At such a bleak time, it gives me hope to see the light World Jewish Relief brings to the lives of older people like Lydia. And I was struck by her gratitude and by her energy. One person who knows the impact of World Jewish Relief's work with older people in Eastern Europe better than anyone is our outgoing chair, Dan Rosenfield. Last week, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Dan to reflect on his time as chair before he moves on from advising Paul Anticoni to the equally prestigious one of advising Boris Johnson as his new Chief of Staff. Dan, take us back 6 years or so. What was it that first brought you to World Jewish Relief?
Well, Emily, for me, it was really about the mission of World Jewish Relief. And I found this fantastic charity with an incredible history. And I met our brilliant CEO, Paul Anticoni, and I should pay tribute to Paul and his team for the incredible work that they do and continue to do on our behalf. But actually, I found a charity that's of the Jewish community, but not constrained by the Jewish community, because we do incredible work driven by Jewish values. And I felt that Jewish value right at the heart of everything we do. But we look beyond. I said last year at the dinner, look out, not in. And that really captured me from the very beginning of getting to know World Jewish Relief, that we look out across the world, and where there is vulnerability, we want to help because of our Jewish values.
If you had to expand on what those values are, what the mission is, what the work is that's so important, how would you do it?
Well, fundamentally, I think, first of all, making sure that the vulnerable are cared for. Nobody should be left alone. And I think that's so important for the generation of Holocaust survivors and our grandparents and parents and great-grandparents who've been through so much. And, you know, some of them in Ukraine, where we work, for example, still live in conditions that you and I would be far from comfortable with. And it's not okay that they live alone. It's not okay that they don't have sufficient support. So that fundamental principle of not turning your back, I think, is really important. But it also goes beyond that for me. And one of the things that World Jewish Relief really embodies in the work we do around livelihood programs, helping people get back into work, is we are not about handouts for people who can help themselves. We're about helping people grow, build their independence, build their own skill set and so forth. And at the end of the day, look after their families and themselves. And pretty much everybody we work with and we look to help, be it a Syrian refugee coming to the UK, be it an elderly Jewish person in Kiev, be it a Jewish mother with 3 children in Kharkov in Ukraine, have one thing in common, that they don't want help. They want to be able to get on with their own lives and stand on their own 2 feet. And I think World Jewish Relief really captures that principle, that help people stand on their own 2 feet rather than just giving handouts. I think it's a really key principle.
As chair, you've had some extraordinary experiences, the trips, the people you've met, the conversations you've had. When you pause and look back over that time, what are, if you like, the standout moments for you?
The thing that really stands out for me is the work we do and the interface I've had with that work. So a couple of trips to Ukraine have been absolutely fascinating, for example. And I remember one particular trip where we went to see some of the work we do around supporting the elderly with medical care. And we'd helped an elderly lady in Kiev have a cataract surgery, something that she wasn't able to do. And this lady had spent the majority of her life not being able to see properly. And we were able to intervene, pay for the operation, and her visibility is fine. Now, it turns out this lady is also a grandmaster chess player, which is quite astonishing. Now, nobody told me this, Emily. So when this lovely 80-year-old sat down in her flat in Kiev with me and said, would you like to play chess? I didn't know what I was letting myself in for. And suffice to say, I lost quite badly.
I wasn't going to ask. I was going to be very tactful then. Some of the responses to the appeal have been absolutely jaw-dropping. What are the ones that you remember that have really sort of brought home the generosity and the power of potential that WJR has?
Well, I mean, a great question. And for me, it was actually when I was a trustee and starting to become chairman, and James Libson, who was a fantastic chair as well before me, was in the hot seat, as it were. We launched an appeal for Syrian refugees coming to the UK. And it was a fascinating time for us as a charity, because there was a real sense, and a lot of our friends and supporters will recognise this, there was a real sense across the British Jewish community that the story of the refugee is our story. And therefore we were compelled to help. And every synagogue, every small community organisation, every charity was asking, what should we do and how can we do this and how can we help? And that was channeled towards World Jewish Relief with a general sense of, you guys do refugees and it's your expertise. What is it you can do? And we captured the emotional moments, and we did a fantastic fundraise where I'm proud to say the Jewish community contributed more than £1 million up front for this effort. But we also captured the professional moment, that we didn't want to just raise money for the sake of it. We understood, and again, Paul and the team were very helpful in doing this, we understood where we could make a practical difference. And that was around English language training, around helping refugees find work in the UK and so forth. So we plugged a gap. We didn't duplicate what other people were doing. And actually, the incredible thing about that programme, and I really believe this, is the quality of our work stands up to national scrutiny. We are one of the best deliverers in the UK of employment programmes and support programmes for refugees. The Home Office would say so, other government departments would say so, other charities would say so, and we've built up a real expertise, which is something I personally am very proud of.
The refugee story is really in our DNA, as you've said, looking forwards, but also backwards to the origins of World Jewish Relief. And you stood on a platform with the boys, you know, that the now elderly men that we will remember from those first moments when they came to this country as refugees.
Yes, well, it was a wonderful moment last year and very special. And as you say, the heritage of World Jewish Relief is phenomenal, and the story of where we came from. And you'll remember there was a fantastic film and documentary, The Windermere Children, on BBC, which had aired the week before our annual dinner last year. And I'm sorry we're not there in person again this year. It was so lovely to have everybody in the Guildhall last year. And I gave my usual speech, hope it wasn't too boring. But the standout moment was having 3 of the boys on the stage at the time. And it really was phenomenal. And as always, and you'll know this better than me, Emily, you never quite know how things are going to go until you're living the moment. And we didn't know how that would work. And the standout moment for me, I get shivers going down my spine when I tell this story, but the standout moment for me is when I introduced each of the boys, and the whole room, the whole Guildhall, and many people who'll be watching tonight were there, stood up and applauded. And it was an absolutely phenomenal moment. And not just because we helped the boys and what they'd been through, but also actually, perhaps almost more importantly, what they achieved and what they continue to achieve in their lives. And no greater testament to that than Sir Ben Helfgott, one of the boys, who I'm very pleased to say Ben's son, Morris, is taking over from me as chairman. And you know, I should say for the record, Morris got the job on merit, but it's also a phenomenal privilege, I would imagine. And I'm very pleased to be handing over to Morris to chair a charity where you can genuinely say your existence is down to that charity and the work we did.
So you'll be advising him to brush up on his chess. But in terms of the future, what is the vision? What do you want to see happen with World Jewish Relief?
Well, I think part of the answer, which is a straight answer, is more of the same. We're really good at what we do, and we should be proud of that, and we should celebrate that, and we should double down on the things we're good at, the work around livelihood and employment training I mentioned, for example. But I think we have built up a reputation for strong values, highly capable delivery, and real focus in this team. And we can afford to push ourselves to the next level. And sadly, this won't be my role going forward, but with Paul and Morris and the team, you know, I'm sure they'll do far better than we would have done under my leadership, that's for sure. But I think we can afford to push ourselves and be even more ambitious. And when I say that, I think, there are some non-negotiables, and I've stood on this virtual stage before and made very clear, and I'm sure Maurice would do the same, that this charity will never turn its back on some of the most vulnerable elderly Jewish people we support. But as we look forward, there is so much more we could be doing around the livelihood program. There's so much more we could be doing with refugees around the world. And I think we can have real confidence, and British Jewry should have real confidence, that in World Jewish Relief we have a flagship charity working with Jewish communities and beyond Jewish communities. And we should really drive that message home. And the best way of driving that message home is the quality of the work we do. So more and more in terms of livelihood development, supporting refugees and driving with that agenda.
We'll all be wishing Maurice well as he takes up this new role. Dan Rosenfield, thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, it now gives me great pleasure to introduce our very special guest, Chris Martin. Now, you will know Chris as the lead singer of Coldplay. I know Chris as my old university friend. I was there at the outset when they formed the band, and we've kept in touch ever since. And I have to tell you, Chris is a great guy with fantastic values that really do embody some of the work that World Jewish Relief does. So with that, it's my great pleasure to introduce Chris, who's going to give us a message, and even better, ladies and gentlemen, is going to sing a song for us as well. Chris Martin.
Hi, this is Chris from Coldplay. I'm filming this myself, so forgive the amateur cinematography. Hope you're all doing okay, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this. And we're very happy to have made this recording of a performance of a song of ours called A Sky Full of Stars, and proud to support World Jewish Relief. And I send you much love, and that's kind of it. I don't have any makeup on. This is not the best film thing in the world, but it's sent with love and good intention. Bye.
'Cause you're a sky, oh you're a sky full of stars. I'm gonna give you my heart. 'Cause you're a sky, oh you're a sky full of stars. And 'cause you light up my heart. I don't care, don't wanna tear me apart. I don't care if you do. 'Cause in the sky, oh in a sky full of stars, I think I saw you. Cause you're a sky, oh you're a sky full of stars. I wanna die in your arms.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Dan, for inviting your good friend to entertain us this evening. Now, since the 1930s, World Jewish Relief has put enormous efforts into helping people help themselves, finding work, earning a living, becoming self-reliant. After rescuing 65,000 Jewish refugees fleeing from Nazi-occupied Europe, even in the 1930s, our employment assistant credentials were paramount to assist them to establish new lives here. From genocide survivors in Rwanda to Jews in Ukraine, World Jewish Relief have become demonstrable experts in this area. As Dan mentioned, our heritage, combined with decades of experience getting vulnerable people into work, led to us extending such expertise to those given the right to live and find work as refugees in the UK. Today, World Jewish Relief is the largest provider of employment support to resettled refugees in the UK, a testament to the welcome generosity and spirit of our community. But a single story can tell us so much more than numbers about how World Jewish Relief's employment projects transform lives. Paul recently spoke to Natalia Akulova, who lives in Kiev in Ukraine. Natalia is a member of Kiev's Jewish community who for 14 years worked for a travel company organising tours of Israel. Like so many in the travel industry, at the beginning of the pandemic, her company was closed. She was left with no work, no income. As the main breadwinner in her family, this left her unable to support her husband and 2-year-old child. But after losing her job, Natalia joined World Jewish Relief's employment project in Kiev and was given psychological support as well as training and career counselling. This enabled her to navigate this stressful time and find stable, remote work from home.
How did you hear about the World Jewish Relief Back to Work program?
Because I used to work with Jewish community, so I through my contacts I heard about World Jewish Relief. They recommended me to address this company, this organization, and that was the start of our cooperation. And I've got remote training course. It's called Welcome to Work. And I received some classes with recruiters, with psychologists, and I found a new job actually after that. So they helped me a lot in this, and that's why I started getting money and received new possibility in working online. So now I'm working online as English teacher.
So you found the World Jewish Relief Back to Work program through the Kiev's Jewish community, and tell me just a bit more about the specific help that you received. How did it encourage you to know where to find work and what skills to develop?
I met some recruiters, I met psychologists, and I passed computer career guidance. And with their help, I realized that the best option for me was to quickly re-enter my old profession. My first education was English teacher in English and Ukrainian, and I understood that there is maybe a chance to re-enter that profession and to start teaching English, because there is a wide possibility now to teach English online remotely. And the staff of that project made me feel, more self-confident. Of course, I was afraid to change my life, because after 14 years in a stable career, to change and to start everything from the very beginning, that was quite challenging. Yeah.
And you said the trainers gave you some confidence and just a sense of ability in yourself. How did they do that?
And they gave a lot of they showed a lot of motivation techniques. I want to emphasize the work of psychologist, because she tried to first to show me my quality, then to show me my advantages, then to show me my ways of my weak points and what I have to work out. And that was a quite difficult work, and everything depends on my self-work, because that was online. Online depends on your self-work.
Natalia, I'm interested, when you first got offered the new job, just how did it make you feel?
Excited, optimistic, and afraid. Because why afraid? Because I didn't know if it goes on, if it turned out or not, if I manage or not, if my knowledges would be enough or not. But it turned out that I'm natural teacher, you know. Everyone said that. So I have about 30 students now. I'm working from the morning till late night till I finish my work at 9, 11. Yeah, at night. So
So Natalia, we're joined this evening by hundreds of World Jewish Relief's supporters. What would your message be to them about the help that they've provided?
I want to thank you for the support that you are doing to us, and you are supporting not finding the new job, but you're supporting our families, you're supporting our lives, you're giving the way of how we can change our future and how we can manage with our problems. Thank you.
Natalia, thank you very much. I'm so pleased we were able to work together. You're really inspiring and motivating for others, and we wish you and your lovely family a happy and healthy 2021. Good luck.
Well, it was wonderful to hear from Natalia. What a driven and articulate woman with a positive story to tell. I'm sure you were all as moved by her words as I was. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear from His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales and World Jewish Relief's patron. I'm deeply honoured to introduce a personal message from His Royal Highness, who has a long-standing and deep-seated connection with World Jewish Relief and our community. The instigator behind Krakow's outstanding Jewish Community Centre and a thought leader and champion of both our employment programme and home repairs initiatives, his interest, enthusiasm, wisdom and active support has helped us mobilise incredible resources to these remarkably successful programmes. At the start of the COVID pandemic, His Royal Highness sent a personal message of support to World Jewish Relief, which undoubtedly inspired us all to go the extra mile. A warm welcome to His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is, if I may say so, incredibly kind of you all to give up your time this evening to be part of this special celebration of a remarkable year's work for World Jewish Relief. I can only say how very sorry I am that we cannot come together in person, and how dearly I wish we were all tucking into a delicious kosher dinner at Guildhall. Instead, I fear it's cold gefilte fish at home for me again. The past year has been a deeply challenging one for people everywhere, and I'm afraid the Jewish community has suffered badly, as so many other communities have too. Even when I wrote to World Jewish Relief back in April in support of your rapid response to COVID-19, none of us could have imagined the scale and scope of the life-saving work you would undertake over the months ahead. I can only pay the warmest of tributes to the Herculean efforts of the World Jewish Relief team and your partners. At the same time, I do know that a number of your closest and dearest supporters have themselves passed away during the course of this year. As we gather this evening, their families and friends are very much in our thoughts. The desperately sad and untimely death of Rabbi Lord Sachs, a regular guest at World Jewish Relief dinners, was a moment of particular sorrow for so many of us. I feel deeply fortunate to have counted Rabbi Sachs as a dear and much valued friend, both of us having been born in the year of the State of Israel's creation. He was a man of extraordinary wisdom, humility and compassion, and also possessed a rather wonderful sense of humour. I fondly recall him telling the story of a Jewish mother buying her son 2 ties for his birthday, a blue one and a red one. The boy rushed into his bedroom, put on the red tie and proudly showed his mother. "What was wrong with the blue one?" his mother moaned. Rabbi Sachs was, of course, making a serious point about the choices available to us in life. I am acutely aware that for many of the people World Jewish Relief assists, there is no choice. No choice but to be cold and lonely. No choice but to have one meal a day. No choice but to leave their homes and flee from conflict. With these people in mind, Britain's Jewish community is renowned for making the choice to assist others. This event is a testament to that choice and to your community's generosity and compassion. World Jewish Relief's story is itself a lesson for us all. Born out of a desire to save Jewish refugees and those fleeing the Holocaust, it has been saving lives since 1933. Among them, the remarkable life of Sir Ben Helfgott, who was rescued by World Jewish Relief from the horrors of the camps, and then went on to make a profound difference to his community and to this country by ensuring the horrors of the Shoah are never forgotten and that their lesson continues to be learned. I am so delighted that the Helfgott family are with us this evening. Just as World Jewish Relief welcomed with open arms Sir Ben and almost 65,000 other Jewish refugees before and after the war, so today it continues to offer a truly British welcome to those refugees fleeing the horrors of conflict and given the right to resettle and work in this country. As Rabbi Lord Sachs wrote, the message of the Hebrew Bible is that civilizations survive not by strength, but by how they respond to the weak, not by wealth, but by how they care for the poor, not by power, but by their concern for the powerless. What renders a culture invulnerable is the compassion it shows to the vulnerable. Ladies and gentlemen, I am enormously proud to be patron of World Jewish Relief, just as I am proud of Britain's Jewish community, precisely because of the compassion you show to others. I wanted you all to know how much your generosity is appreciated and to convey to you my heartfelt gratitude for your invaluable support. I dearly hope that we can all gather again before too long. For now, I wish you all the success this evening deserves and pray that you might enjoy a happier and healthier year ahead.
Thank you so much to His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales for that kind message. We're now going to watch a short film which will remind us of the sobering reality many of the communities World Jewish Relief supports worldwide are facing, and why your support this year is more important than ever. If you would like to make a donation, you can donate or pledge this evening by clicking the buttons on your screen or returning the pledge card you received in the post. Tonight, we've taken you on a journey to meet just a few of the people who make up the global World Jewish Relief family. Now, at the start of 2021, our own community still faces challenging months ahead, but we have some light. Vaccine is being rolled out. Change is on the horizon. But for all the communities World Jewish Relief supports, the effects of this pandemic will continue more intensely and for much longer for most, receiving the vaccine for them a distant dream. With your support, we can ensure that World Jewish Relief continues its proud history of providing employment support for vulnerable and displaced people, helping them to rebuild lives of independence and of dignity. Your help will mean we can continue to say that the UK Jewish community leads responses to disasters wherever they occur. And only with your support can World Jewish Relief make sure no older Jewish person is hungry, alone or forgotten at this isolating time. Tonight I'm asking you to make a world of difference by giving generously to save lives and transform communities. And you can do so now via the buttons on your screen or your pledge cards. Thank you so very much for joining us tonight. We'll end the evening with a special rendition of Ose Shalom from the Jewish community in Uganda. Good night, stay safe, and thank you.
Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Ose shalom bimroma uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael. 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 Ve'imru